We got cables and hard wires and leathers. Oh my! Cables and hard wires and leathers. Oh my! Well, I hope Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz will excuse me, but that's the topic of today's video. And what a gorgeous day it is. When you choose a leather boot for a 3-pin binding and your focus is more on the downhill end of things as opposed to just cruising in the flats, people oftentimes pick a binding that has either a hard wire or a cable attachment. Now, first of all, if you've been following my channel for any length of time, you know I'm not a big fan of cable bindings on leather boots. I think a leather boot just by itself, as long as it's sturdy enough and the skis are capable and the snow conditions are good, are more than adequate for doing the turns that you need to do in the backcountry. But when conditions get a little tougher, or maybe the boot doesn't have the support that you need, then people will often resort to putting a spring cable on or buying a binding that has a hard wire. And that really does give you more control, but the hassle of taking them on and putting them off is more than I can stand most of the time. And as I've said in the past, the only time I tend to put on a spring cable, or a hard wire for that matter, is when I know that I'm going to be skiing a downhill stretch for a significant period of time. So what I have here on my left hand is Vole's hard wire. And what I have in my right hand is Vole's spring cable. And when people talk about cables, this isn't really a cable in the sense that you would think. What it is just really a long spring. And it hooks onto the side of the 3-pin binding and clamps against your boot. The hard wire, on the other hand, has these steel rods that go into a spring cartridge. And then there's a heel clamp that fastens against the back of your boot. And these are significantly heavier than the spring cable. But on the other hand, they don't have that, you can't bend them sideways. And for me, the big advantage of this system over this system, these don't need to be anywhere near as tight on your boot as this system does. My biggest pet peeve with the spring cable is that it really restricts your forward movement. And the reason it restricts the forward movement is I have to tighten it down significantly in order to keep this lever from popping off. And when you do that, you know, the forward motion on the boot is just severely restricted. And it's just not something I enjoy doing skiing on the flats. And the process of putting these on and taking them off, I just think most of the time is not worth it to me. The advantage of the hard wire is just by the nature, the way that it attaches to the boot, allows the spring tension to be a lot looser. And it won't fall off your boot, and it's much easier to flex that boot forward. You can adjust that tension while the hard wire is on the boot. You can't do that with a spring cable. If it's too tight or too loose, you got to take it off. What I've done is I've glued these springs in place here so that when I take them out of my pack and I stick them on my skis, then they're just adjusted for the way that I like them. Now what I have here is the Vole cable binding, and I have them on my S-bound 98s. I got the Alpha Greenland leather boots here, and for most skiing situations this is more than adequate for being able to make turns and control. It offers you a lot of really good flexibility. Now the cable attachment for this binding, this is what Vole sells here. And in concept here, you should be able to put these easily on your ski. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's a little more difficult, depending on how cold it is, whether you have to have your gloves on, how steep the slope is, and a whole wide range of things. Here I'm struggling with the spring cable. Just one of the reasons I'm not a big fan. I'm going to modify these cables and my hard wires to make it easier to put them on and remove them in the field. I'll cover that in more detail in my next video. So for now, let's skip forward and check out the skiability of the two different systems. Okay, it's time to take a run with the spring cable on my right ski and the hard wire on my left ski. Let's just give this a little try, see how it goes. Okay, I've got the spring cable on my right ski and the hard wire on my left ski. Let's do this. Okay, good control there. Good control there. Nice control there. Really good control all through here. No complaints. Once again, this time from the skier's perspective. Hardwire on the left, spring cable on the right. Same run. Really nice and smooth. The snow is beautiful. Now let's see if we can get these off without taking our skis off. First up. And hence this is the problem. So now that we've removed the cables and the hardwire, we're going to go back up, ski the same slope, just a few minutes apart. We're going to be free wheelie at this particular point. This will be a great comparison because not that often do you get a chance to ski the same skis with the same boots, same snow conditions, one right after another, and just see how it feels. So we'll hike right to the top of this hill, we'll give it one more run. On this track up to the top of the hill is when you really appreciate not having the restriction that the cables and the hardwires give. And if you're kicking along in the flats, that can really be restrictive. Just, I can't emphasize how much better this feels without that restriction. Just about exceeded my coefficient of friction. These waxless skis. It is just absolutely a beautiful day today. Cold, about 4 degrees Fahrenheit. But where I'm doing this test is a little gully, and the sun sets right in there. It's like a little microclimate. Now on the flats here, this is where you don't want to have a cable or a hardwire. So here we go. Free wheelie here. That was a lot of fun. So what are my thoughts? Well, as long as you've got snow and you've got skis and a great hill and a day like today, it's all good. Each of those systems have their benefits and their weaknesses. I guess if I had to pick a 3-pin binding with either the cable or a hardwire, I'd probably go with a hardwire. I just, even though you have a weight penalty, I think it just feels better. It feels more natural to me. And the way I ski is I like to have my boot a little bit loose. I like it to be a little bit more natural, almost as if you're not using a hardwire or a spring. That's just my preference. You know, other people may like it tighter. The spring cable, it works okay. I think, you know, you've got pretty good lateral stability as long as you have them down tight. My biggest complaint is I just don't like the way they feel on the flats, and I don't like the way they feel on the uphill. And I guess if I had to use one, I would sacrifice, have the extra weight, and use the hardwire, that's for sure. Of course, another option is to use a plastic boot, a lightweight plastic boot, something on the lines of a Scarpa T4 or a Scott Excursion boot with a 3-pin binding and no cable at all. And I think that's an interesting combination. I had a set of Scarpa T4s. I skied them for maybe 4 or 5 years, and I really liked the boots. I had some blister problems with them. I finally had to give them up. But it makes me wonder if I had the choice of a hefty leather boot with a cable option or a Scarpa T4. I think I'd go with the Scarpa T4 if the focus was downhill and there wasn't a lot of flats to ski to get to the hills. But all in all, for moderate terrain and the kind of skiing you're seeing me do here today, I really don't think you can beat a leather boot. Well, thanks for coming along today with me on my little backcountry ski outing. I hope you found some of the information useful, if nothing else entertaining. If you did, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, be safe and be kind. And I hope to see you out on the trail sometime.